Hello.
Kelsey.
You caught I like it. The camera turned on right as I took a bite of dinner.
Okay. I just hurried and ate mine, so I understand.
We all have to eat.
Uh-oh.
And thank you, Doriandra. I just copy and pasted that and away it went.
Perfect.
And it was, that's all I wanted.
Perfect. Hey, good evening, Joanna. Oops. Got a kitty coming to the meeting. Give a couple more minutes here and let more folks join. Good evening, Andy and Sierra.
Hello, hi.
Somebody's talking around here.
All right. Well, let's get started. My name is Doriandra Smith. I am the program manager for the Whitaker Community Council, and I welcome you all to our Whitaker Community Council Public Health and Safety Committee meeting. I thought it might be really fun to kind of do a round of introductions. So maybe introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your background and then pass it on to the next person. So why don't we start with Margaret?
Hi, my name's Margaret. I'm the chair of the Whitaker Community Council, and thank you all for being here.
Who would you like to pick, Margaret?
Oh, I thought how about Anand, a Fathom note taker? It was a joke. It was a joke. How about you, Andy?
Oh, thank you, Margaret. My name is Andy Davis, and I'm with the Eugene Springfield CERT program. I'm an instructor with the program, and I'm also the Eugene Emergency Communication Net Manager. And let's go with Joanna.
Brett. Yeah, I'm Joanna De Felice. This is, as I'm sure all of you know at this point, the first time I've attended one of these meetings. It's been a long time now, but I was asked a while back, several years ago, if I would do what I could to get an emergency communication group going as part of the Whitaker Community Council. And I don't know what happened to it, but it never went anyplace. And what we've got at this point is Megan and sometimes Sean Bowles and myself, and we're still shopping for more ham operators, which is what I'm hoping we'll get more involved. And I'm here I've been part of the Whitaker community for, wow, well over 45 years. I was part of the Whitaker Refinement Plan many years ago. And I'm just curious to see where y'all go, because I'd like to be part of it. And Megan, I'm going to go with you next.
Okay. I'm Megan. I live on Cedar Street over by Sladden Park, and I have been involved with the Public Health and Safety Committee before COVID and just rejoined, and my role is to engage with folks who want to do map your neighborhood, community connecting or neighborhood connections and inventory and such. And I'm also part of that radio communications team, a disaster assessment team lead here. and you'll hear more about that in a bit. And I also am the contact, kind of volunteer CERT contact for the water distribution, emergency water distribution system based on wells. And it occurred to me that we could maybe put that on the list sometime for me to share a little bit about that with the group.
Yeah, we'd love that. Thank you.
And how about Kelsey?
Hi, I'm Kelsey. I am new to the Whitaker Community Council. I am doing all of the social media and marketing communications. So the things that we take away from this meeting and talk about, I'll be able to share with the rest of the Whitaker. So that's why I'm here. And then I'll pick Sierra.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Sierra Anderson. I'm the emergency manager for the city of Eugene. I've been in my role actually 5 months yesterday, so still getting used to it, still pretty new to the Eugene area. I'm originally from Southern Oregon, but I just relocated back to Oregon from Montana. And yeah, it's been a transition, and I'm really excited to be back in Oregon and excited to be in the Eugene area. My background, I guess we could talk a little bit about that. I have always worked county emergency management. So again, another kind of transition into city or metro area. My counterpart in Springfield, he and I work very closely together. But I was doing emergency management in Lewis and Clark County in Montana, and then before that in Benton County. And during my time at Benton County, we had COVID, and then the 2020 wildfires are like the bigger kind of incidents we had there. I worked really closely with our CERT team there, and I plan to do the same thing here in the city of Eugene and Springfield. Andy is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to communications, Joanna, so I definitely encourage you to get to know Andy very, very well. But yeah, I guess I can pick on Thea. If you want to introduce yourself to the group.
Hi, sorry guys, my internet wasn't working. It just went off. This is the second time today. I'm on the Whitaker Community Council, at-large board member, and I've been Parks and Safety Liaison since, I want to say, 2007 with the city. And I've been a Whitaker resident for almost 30 years now. And I don't know who hasn't gone.
That was all of us. It looked like we had Sherry Calder on for a second. Maybe her connectivity failed, but I hope that she joins us again. She is the ward captain for Springfield CERT, I believe. So I hope that her voice comes back. Thank you, Thea. All right.
Introduce yourself too?
What?
You want to introduce yourself?
Oh, I did. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, well, thank you all for coming. And just to let you know that we are recording a meeting. We like to kind of keep track of these, and then we post them later on our website for folks to catch up if they're unable to attend. So if you are okay with that, excellent. If not, please feel free to turn your camera off or however you feel best suited. All right. Oh, it looks like we've got someone else coming in. All right. So I just wanted to give a little recap about our first disaster resiliency event, which I was so grateful. All of you were there, which is just great. I feel like we had a really great start at that. It was kind of hastily put together, but I think we did a fine job. We had some interesting stats from that I wanted to share with you all in terms of participants and whatnot. Looks like we had 6 community partners. So many of those were folks that are here. In terms of Sierra's group was there. We had eWeb. We had CERT, and you're all there. So from that, we are really pleased to say that we had 12 new folks sign up to be part of the disaster resiliency program. So we hope to have some new fresh faces, and we're hoping that leads to more committee involvement and volunteer participation. At that event, we were able to get 29 folks started on gift bag items, or I'm sorry, gift card recipients were folks that got the gift cards that would help kind of suit to buy their own things that were suitable for their families or cultural needs to their go bags. And then we had 29 different little packets given away so people could start their go bags. Since the Whitaker Community Council has a long history of helping and working through the COVID pandemic era, we also passed out 48 kits. Those are those take-home kits that folks could use to keep their families safe. And we had 4 incredible guest speakers. So all in all, it feels like it was a great event. We also had the news come out. We have a great little news clip here. I'll put it in the chat for folks if you want to view it later. Thank you for speaking, Sierra. That was great as well to add to the queue there. Let's see, I'll put this in the chat. And it looks like we've got Ralph here. Hi. Ralph, would you introduce yourself real quick? We were doing a quick round of introductions and
Hi, my name's Ralph. I'm been a prepper most of my life and like showing people the gear bags and what they can do to be prepared for bug outs or just traveling in the wintertime or anytime.
thank you. Yeah, we so enjoyed your talk at the event where we learned about what you put in your go bag all the way up to the complicated inch bag. So it was really great. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. It was fun.
Sherry, do you want to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what you are doing these days?
I work with him.
Kind of a dream team.
Yeah. Just go bag stuff. Been doing that pretty much my whole life as well. And then got involved with CERT many years ago. And then it's just kind of part of our lifestyle. So it's an easy thing to talk about that we both really like doing.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm glad you're both here. Appreciate that. Megan, do you want to give a little recap about what your experience was with folks in talking about the Map Your Neighborhood project?
Sure. Yeah, I don't have my little piece of paper. I'd have to run into the other room to get it, but I think I had eight or nine people who got engaged enough at my table that they wanted to write their name and contact information down. Because so at the table I had the booklets and a little some examples of what it would look like if you did this with your neighborhood. And then I had a flyer. So a bunch of people took the flyer, or enough people took the flyers, and I didn't get any Margaret, if you get the flyer said, I think we talked about this, but the flyer said if you're interested in doing this, contact the WCC or the Whitaker Community Council Gmail and mention that you want to connect with Megan about Map Your Neighborhood. So just forward any of those messages to me. I don't think there would probably be any, but seems like, has there been any, Margaret?
No, and I would have forwarded them to you, but I think, it's Thanksgiving in 2 days.
I wasn't expecting any, so that's fine.
Well, I would say that after Thanksgiving is over, that we do a little social media post that says, hey, Map Your Neighborhood, who's interested, please shoot us a message. And yeah, any of that comes will come your way.
Okay, super. Well, I can, Kelsey, maybe I don't be ready to do that maybe in December, but the plenty of people signed up and I reached out to all of them to follow up and nobody has said a peep back to me. So I'll nudge them again. And I did have a good phone call with somebody. And so we've got at least a couple people who are kind of ready to move forward soon, but that's my report. I'll keep following folks and engaged to do it.
Megan, didn't you email me and ask me about the video for the go bags? Was that you?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, someone asked me about the video for the go bags and how they could get it. I need to go back and look. I thought it was you, but I did forward it to you, Doriandra, because I think that Kelsey actually took that video of when they did that whole thing.
Right.
So someone is wanting to know if it's going to be posted or how they can get it. So Ralph and Sherry, it's nice to see you again. You guys were a big hit. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. That was fun.
And people
It was-
want
it
to
was
see the
good
video.
time.
It's great.
Great.
Yeah, Janine from eWeb was super impressed with the demonstration that Ralph and Sherry did, and she had talked about connecting them to her, which I will, because I think she would like to kind of recreate that, perhaps. I don't want to speak for her, but just the demonstration of like what goes into it and how it evolves was really helpful for people. So yeah, it was a great hit. Appreciate that. So we'll connect all those dots. We have just been super busy. We're working on some other new grants that would either be completely connected to our existing disaster resiliency program or as a standalone project. But Thea and I have been hard at work with that, working through the other element of emergency preparedness, which is appropriate ways of small gardening, small compact. If you're an apartment dweller, how do you do that in buckets? If you have a small little rental somewhere, how you can do it so that if you have to move, you take it with you, all that stuff. So we've been working on that side of it, which will be really interesting. Hopefully to kind of include a lot of maybe food preparation in terms of canning and saving food. So that's going to be our next target, I think, for the standalone grant, and then also to incorporate that into our next event. So I think our timing for that would be just early spring. We don't want to wait too far into the year, but we also want everyone to stay warm and cozy until we come out again. So here we go with our hibernation, our Eugene gray time. So all right, well, I think did anybody have any? Yeah, Margaret, go ahead.
So just to make a quick announcement, and this has not been made public yet. And Megan, just on a side note, I'm sure that Map Your Neighborhood that we'll get that off the ground as the weather gets a little bit better. And I know that people have asked me about it and made comments, and they're excited about that as well. It's just a little cold, and now it gets dark at 5 and all of that. That being set aside, so just so that you all know, and this hasn't been made public yet, and for us, it's a big deal. In 2024, it will be the Whitaker Community Council and our nonprofit status. We're going to hit 50 years. It's our 50-year anniversary, which we will, I think we'll all be involved in doing something to kick that off. And as a nonprofit, 501c3 nonprofit, we actually have hired our first full-time W-2 employee, which is something that we've never done before. And we have promoted Doriandra to the executive director position of the nonprofit. And that will start as of January 1. Like I said, it hasn't been, we'll do a big post about it and all of that, because for us, that's a huge deal. I mean, in 50 years, we've had a lot of contractors, a lot of 1099s, but we have never had an actual full-time employee. And she's worked for us for 2.5 years. All through COVID, we vaccinated how many people, Doriandra?
1,500.
1,500 people. We were talking about that earlier, and ran many a COVID clinics and gave away lots of, we actually helped keep some businesses in the Whitaker, some food carts afloat, lots of things. And she was behind all of that, and has been a program director and manager for the entire time and has managed to keep it going. So she will now be executive director of the WCC nonprofit as of January 1. So that's a very exciting thing.
Yeah.
And I told her I wanted to share all of that with you guys before we make a public announcement. So Megan, did you have a question?
Yeah, well, just congratulations, Doriandra. I think that's so great and super valuable for the nonprofit in terms of its stability and the capacity. So that's amazing. And I do have one question for you, Doriandra, just about the interest list. Is the idea for the folks that signed up on your interest list for the disaster resiliency effort just to invite them to these meetings for starters?
Correct, yeah, to just get them involved in our program and find ways that we can intersect talents, capabilities, whatnot. But we should overlay them into your folks that are also interested in the Map Your Neighborhood. So should we merge? Would you want to merge that at some point? Okay.
No, I don't think so. We can decide, you and I can talk about that, whether, I mean, I don't want them, but because they stopped at my table and didn't sign up, probably.
Oh, right, that's right. They came then.
I got
Yeah.
everybody. I talked to everybody at the event. So, but
Okay.
if people, yeah, and I think they had the opportunity to go to that table too, but maybe not. It could have been in person, in which case we could invite them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So will they be invited? When will they be invited to join us? How soon can we expect people to start joining us?
I would say that, I mean, as Margaret said, we're just in this kind of lull, and in hindsight, this was kind of an extravagant meeting to plan. So thank you all for coming tonight, because we're so in holiday mode already. So I would say just, we'll go through kind of the cold spell, and we'll resume our meetings. I was going to propose that we pause in December, which is kind of what we do across the whole board with our other committees and general meetings. So, we will just keep in touch with those folks and hope that they join us in January.
Yeah, maybe just something that seems like just a little hello and thanks, and we'll be in touch later. Might be nice just to, so it's fresh in their mind and they don't say, what is this about?
No, they all received that from me. Definitely. They all did. So everybody's on the.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you, Margaret, for that fun announcement. The Whitaker Community Council has done incredible work in the last 50 years in writing these new grants. It's been real interesting education to see how far back and what they've done. Some of our recent things were pretty amazing. We had a housing is healthcare program that ran for the last 9 months before we started the disaster resiliency. And that was a huge source to keep people in houses that were suffering from long haul COVID and mental illness, all kinds of issues, surgeries. So we really worked as a public health and safety committee then to prioritize and help folks. Out of those 58 families we served, there were 68 children involved in those families. So we directly moved about 10 families out of cars and unsafe living situations into housing. So we've done a broad portfolio of public equity and public health work. So this new disaster resiliency part is super exciting to come on the tail end of all that. So, all right, thank you all. And I don't want to keep chatting on. We're really excited to hear from Andy Davis, and take it away.
Thank you, Doriandra.
Cool.
Thank you, Whitaker Neighborhood, for the invite. I'll give you a little bit more of a introduction on myself. I am not from Oregon, if you can tell, and it's not Southern Oregon either. I'm an Appalachian American. I was born in West Virginia, born and raised in West Virginia, and I left home right after high school. I spent 22 years in the Navy. In that time, 22 years of naval communications. After retiring from the Navy, I worked 10 years for the federal government in the Justice Department and their communications systems. So I have a background in radio communications. And so I bring that to the table. So my earlier introduction was basically with the CERT program. I have been all over this country, lived all over this country, have traveled back and forth across this country about 5 times. And so moved here in 2004 from South Carolina. And we've been here ever since. Having to, after resigning from the Justice Department and trying to figure out, well, what am I going to do? So I saw this ad about the CERT program. I said, oh, this looks like it'd be a fun thing to do. So that's how I got involved with the CERT program. So, and so I've been with the Eugene Springfield CERT probably 12 or so years. And have been also as a instructor with the program as well for 5 years, maybe. I've lost count. Anyway, so tonight we got a topic of that we have is what is emergency communications and why do we need it? So EMCOM is short for emergency communications, and it's a system where, you know, radio operators assist through maintaining communications before and during and after emergencies and disasters. Radio operators, they have an opportunity to help their community in times of needs and emergency. That's basically a quick and dirty what is emergency communications. But why do we need it? Well, emergency communications, they are critical to transmit information that first responders rely on during a crisis. The ability to communicate must be dependable and time sensitive to help minimize the risk to life, property, and recovery during emergencies. So, you know, that's why we need it. We've got to, you know, have something to kick in when everything else hits the fan and fails. A number of years ago, you may remember, we had an ice storm that was really affected the South Hills area of Eugene. And at that time, the city emergency management came to me. I was a newly steering committee chair and said, we want you to come up with an emergency communication system for Eugene. So that's how we started the EMCOM system. And the reason being is because those in the South Hills, when they lost power, they lost phones, they lost cell phones, they lost everything. Many of the folks in the South Hills were without power for 2 weeks, some even more. And so they could not get out. And a lot of senior folks lived in the South Hills area. They couldn't get in. And so it was quite a problem. Where I live in the North Eugene area up by Costco, we didn't have a problem, but those in the South Hills did. So that's how the birth of the Eugene EMCOM system was brought forward. So not only is the accurate information that we need to have is a difference between life and death, but in those areas, but it can provide reassurance to the people that we live next to in the response, and they know that recovery is truly underway and that help is on the way. So here in Eugene, you know this, and we've been talking about it plenty of times in the CERC program, that Eugene has the potential to experience a high magnitude earthquake caused by the Cascadia subduction zone. We've been practicing and training for such an event. Everybody tells us we are way past due, but it doesn't have to be an earthquake. It could be something like the Holiday Farm Fire not too long ago up in McKenzie. Many of those folks up there, they had no communications, where everything was lost. A few people that did have your typical walkie-talkies, FRS radios, they were able to communicate with each other, and they were able to tell one another it's time to go. And so the McKenzie area realized we've got a problem. We need to have some emergency communications. So we know that any major disaster like the Cascadia, that it's going to exceedingly the staff, the availability at the aftermath of such an earthquake, it's going to creates a big problem. There's going to be difficult challenges, and to solve all this is just going to be a headache. And so with that happens, there's going to be chaos, confusion, immediately following after that, because nobody's not going to know what's going on. There's going to be zombies running in the streets. Cats and dogs are going to be chasing everybody. So it'll be chaos. But reliable and timely information is very critical for the effectiveness of response and recovery. That's why it's so important. So coordinating communication to limit this chaos and confusion By passing vital information, this will improve responses and recovery operations, not only for the Whitaker neighborhood, but also for the Eugene as a whole. So these unanticipated impacts that may hit our city, the sheer magnitude of an earthquake, it's going to cause challenge to the local government, such as Eugene, Sierra with the emergency management, our state, and also the federal preparedness. They're going to be up against it. And so with their response efforts and everything. So it's very important. So this is where you, the Whitaker Neighborhood Association or the coalition, and your neighbors and folks, this is where you and every other person and every other neighborhood within the city of Eugene, you come into play to help your neighbor, your community, and the city by coming on board and supporting emergency communications by either working with Megan, with your map your neighborhood, or developing a damage assessment team to where you can provide information about what you see around your neighborhood to a local neighborhood ham, which in turn will pass that information on up to the city's emergency operations center. So you can get involved. You know, of course, I wasn't around during World War II. I'm a baby boomer, but I have remember seeing a lot of those old movies. Especially, I always liked the British movies too, because they had all the where they had the air raids and stuff. But anyway, but you see those old World War II movies. They had people walking around with their little hats. And they were kind of like the air raid wardens, and they would tell people they were volunteers, but they were there to support their neighborhoods, to support the neighbors, and to tell them, you know, you need to turn your lights off and pull your shade down if you're going to put your lights on inside, because we don't want to give light away in case if the bombers come over. So same way here, we kind of support one another. So it's important. My opinion, of course, I'm going to push it, that be a part of this. Stand up some damage assessment teams within your neighborhood. Go out and find neighborhood hams that you can pass your information on using the FRS radio. And just be alert and work together in teams. That's what we want to do, because all of us contributing, we can save one another. And our city will rebuild quicker. So it's very important. And that's why it's important to have a emergency communication system. And if you got questions, I'll take some questions too. But that's my spiel.
Thank you, Andy. Yeah, I have a question. Would you be able to kind of talk us through the chain of command that leads it up to the top of city management?
Sure thing.
Thanks.
So when we planned out the system, this emergency communication system for Eugene, there were 4 of us actually that got together. We went and had pizza, and we said, how is this thing going to look? How's it going to look? How are we going to do this? Eugene is huge. So we started with the premise that with the CERT program, we divided up the city beforehand with 4 districts at that time. And each of the districts had a CERT district leader. That was kind of to help out each of the districts to help the neighborhoods be resilient, be prepared for disasters and emergencies. So we took that model, but we had to make 6 because in the southeast area of Eugene, we've got too many hills, and so it's not very conducive for radio. So we took that, we made 6 districts, and we said, okay, how's this going to look? Well, we've got to start from the neighborhood, because that's where the information is coming from. We know that in a major, when it hits the fan, and it's a big one, the EOC, the city employees, they may take them a couple of days just to get there, depending on how the bridges and how the traffic is, or how they can get there. We all know we need to take care of ourselves, our own household, and our neighbors around us first. But it may take them some time to get to the emergency operations center to actually turn the lights on and get things fired up. It may take some time for the first responders to get to their stations. The ones that are on duty, they're going to have a long shift. So it will take some time. So looking at that, we said we've got to start with the neighborhoods first. How do we do this? So that's where we said we need to have like teams, not large teams, just maybe a pair, 2 people to walk their streets, go around the block, write down what they see, and they can tell this to a person that has an FRS radio which we call their radio team leader. And then that person will write up a message, general message. And then we say, well, this person needs to talk to somebody. We need to find a neighborhood hand that is in a radio range of an FRS radio, which is probably about a mile range in town. So they can receive this radio message from an FRS radio, can take that information and then use their ham radio and pass that on to who? Let's have a district net control. That will be over the district ham radio operators, and this district net control will take incoming messages from the hams within the neighborhood. And then that district net control will take all those messages together, and then they will pass those messages up to the emergency operations center for the city. So that's how the flow chart would be. Once that message is generated by the radio team leader in the neighborhood, and we strive to impress upon that person to be, when they write the message, to be accurate, brief, and concise, because we know that the Larry and Sue that are just neighbors next door, they are not certs, they've never been trained, but they want to help, and they're going to walk around and they're going to write everything down. So they're going to come back and they may be, what they may have may be very wordy, but we can't send all those words over the air because it takes up airspace. So we have to, because there's other people want to talk as well. So it's going to be a challenge for that radio team leader to take all those words and then condense it down to be accurate, brief, and concise to send that message forward. And it's, I don't know if you've ever had writing classes, if you in school, college, or high school. My time in the service as being in a position of supervision, I always had to write fitness reports or quarterly reports on people that work for me. And I always had to write those. Well, when I would write those reports up on individuals when it was time for their performance appraisal, then I had to send those write-ups to someone above me and that person wrote my performance appraisal. So I would send all those reports up. Well, you know, if I didn't get the wordage right or didn't get it all concise, they would red pen through and they send it back down. I have to rewrite it again. So it's kind of like that. You want to take all that information and just get the meat out of it and then put it on a message. But once that message leaves that radio team leader in the neighborhood, it is not changed. It is not augmented. If it's something's misspelled, the neighborhood ham's not going to change it. The net control's not going to change it. It's going to go straight as it is. That is something that FEMA has strived that you don't change the message once it is generated. You don't change the message just because you don't like the way it's worded or the way it's spelled or the sentence structure is not to your liking. So I hope that helps.
It does. Thank you. It looks like Megan has a question.
Oh, hey, Megan.
Yeah, I have some context for folks. Some of us have talked about this already, but just so you know who these people are in your neighborhood. I'm right now the only person that I'm aware of. Yes, I'm the only person in the Whitaker that's doing serving as that radio team lead. So I have some volunteers who have been trained to do walk the hood, walk just around my house and assess and come back, and we've practiced translating into that concise and brief language. And then we send a message by my walkie-talkie or FRS family radio system to Joanna, who's here with us tonight. And Joanna is our neighborhood ham. So I can't communicate with EOC because I'm not a ham. So I send a little walkie-talkie message to Joanna. We practiced a lot to make sure we can communicate. And then Joanna sends a message, or Joanna's right there with Gary, who's our district ham, and the message goes on up. So those are who our people are. And Joanna and Gary are also right here in the WIT.
Yeah, thank you, Megan. Yeah, and I touched base with Megan, I think, way early at the very beginning of this. And I'm thinking same thing with Joanna. And at the very early stages of this. And as for Whitaker, it may be good to maybe take a look at a map of Whitaker and say, maybe we ought to divide it up like in the little squares and see if we can find some people in each of those squares that would be willing to stand up a damage assessment team. I know that Joanna talked about Sean is another ham that's kind of east of Megan, northeast of Megan somewhat. But that's another neighborhood ham that also could take in neighborhood messages as well. And then Sean could send those messages up to Gary, which is the Southeast District 2 net control, which takes in Whitaker neighborhood, Friendly neighborhood, Jefferson West Side, downtown neighborhood as well.
And just to add to that briefly, I don't know how much it will help in terms of dividing us up into little units. But after Thanksgiving, I do plan on contacting Megan so that we can see what we can do here to start the Map Your Neighborhood. And that will give me an idea of how many folks in my particular area will be interested and in what capacity.
That's excellent, Joanna. Thank you.
And it's I don't know if you know this, Doriandra, but it's my goal as well as we get into next year to maybe work a little bit with Jefferson West Side, with downtown, to do a little bit of networking so that we're all on the same page and bring all the neighborhood associations together.
Yeah.
Because, when something happens, we're all in this together. Just because you're on the other side of 7th Street isn't going to make any difference at the time.
It's true. One group that's really impressed me of our neighborhood associations is the River Road area. They have a really complex format already written out for planning that was quite inspiring. So I think we should really reach out to them and learn more about their plans. So, yeah. Excellent. Thank you, Andy. That was great. It's really helpful.
My pleasure. You guys will do great, and just keep up the hard work. And Chelsea is a good point of contact for River Road community area.
Okay.
So yeah, she's good with that. And actually, her and her group they participated in October's exercise for the River Road area this past October city exercise. It was good.
Yeah, excellent. I know some of us are super excited for this light search and rescue training opportunity coming up on, is it December 2nd?
Yes, December 2nd. Yes, from 10 to 1 p.m.
That's going to be great. I've been a CERT member for, I think, 11 years now, and my training was in a other state. And this just seems so amazing to be interacting this much with fire department to really do a training like this. This was something that other states, I don't think they do. So I'm really proud of our city for offering that, and it's good. It's gonna be good.
That was all the Sierra is doing there. She was
Oh,
yeah, she's being shy, but no, this could not have happened unless Sarah put that forward and that got the wheels turning on that one. That's the only way. Yes. So bravo Zulu to Sierra for that one.
No, our new fire marshal, he's fabulous. He has a background in emergency management and he's a diehard CERT person as well. He's from Georgia, so he understands the value of having a really robust volunteer team. And he came to me with the idea. He's like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "We have only like a month." And he said, "Okay, make it happen, magician." So here we are making it happen. But we are inviting and open to the public. It's just as if people aren't our registered CERT members, we can't allow them to participate just in case of injury or things like that. But we love a crowd, and trust me, I know Andy and his team love a crowd. So if you all want to come and watch and just kind of see, and we'll have a couple folks there to talk to people about our next basic training. And it's a good opportunity to interface with the fire department too, and kind of put your neighborhood and let them know what they're doing, what you guys are all doing. And I think it's a really good opportunity. Not super sure how many other folks, but we opened it up to Benton County CERT, Lynn County CERT, and a couple, I think Cottage Grove, so a handful of others around the state, and at least in our region. So it should be pretty cool.
yeah, that'll be great to meet some other CERT folks and do
Yeah.
that networking and learn what are really kind of big points of concern for our neighbors too, in terms of other counties, because we all are in one state, but each county has such specificity with what can go wrong, So good. Well, that's great. I just wondered if we could just take, since we're kind of in an open forum right now, I would love to get some input on how Andy and Sierra, how you all are feeling about the River Bend hospital closure, from my point of thinking and others that I think Margaret and I talked about it and stuff. It seems like a very scary thing in case we lose mobility over our bridges. Is that something y'all have some thoughts about, or would love to hear?
Well, that's all goes back to being, I guess, preparedness. There was a number of years back, I think the CERT trainer was from Polk County, but made a made a comment that has stuck with me even today, and it made sense. Excuse me. At the time, well, anyway, the comment was that as you travel down the road, whether it be on I-5 or any of the road, when you see a guardrail, you need to have in your mind what action would you take when you got to that guardrail and your access across was gone? How would you do? And of course, seeing guardrails as you drive down I-5 or any of the streets, a lot of times for me, I don't think about it. But how is your life going to change in an emergency? You come up to a guardrail and the access across that is gone. So what do you have to do? The same thing. That's the whole thing about being prepared. You work downtown, but you live north of the river. What's going to happen if you can't get across the river? Do you have someone, if you got children in school north of the river, is there someone that will pick them up, or what is the plan? So all these things, you have to take all the stuff into an account. You've got to have a plan, and we've talked in a search, you've got to have a plan. And that goes for everything. We don't know what's going to happen. You got to have cash on hand. If power goes out and there's no power, you're going to be paying cash because you're not getting any money from ATM machines. They're out. So whatever money you got on hand, that's it. So you go to a store to buy something and need something, they're not going to be able to ring you up. They're going to just the bread costs you $2. So all I got is 5. Well, that's it. I can't make change. So you bought a $5 loaf of bread or whatever. So you have to make plans. But as for the hospital, that's more, I guess, in Sierra's. I'll kick that to Sierra. That's a government wise, that government area there. To me, I just don't think it will. There'll be something there, but it won't go away completely. That's my opinion.
Mm.
Yeah, I can take that one, Andy. Thank you for the preparedness reminder. And yeah, so with the hospital, I mean, I can't really speak to what the decision, how they came to that decision and what the process was. I mean, it was definitely before I started. I'm sure it was way before then to make that decision. I know that a lot of that healthcare industry has had to make difficult decisions post-COVID. But I will say that the hospital emergency manager, myself, Springfield emergency manager, and hopefully the soon to be county, but post her leaving us, she was involved as well, in our EMS chief from Eugene Springfield Fire. We've had some really good discussions around planning for what that might look like, and even considerations of doing an exercise to kind of see what would happen if we had to surge south, or if we had to go north up to the Samaritan Hospital in Corvallis, because it's the closest one with capacity. But I'm not sure what the plans are for that building. I do know that there was some major concern with the safety of the building, as far as its capacity to withstand, even if we had that major cascade, if it would even be standing. Something that would take out bridges could likely take out that structure. What it does do is it offers us an opportunity to get creative, and in emergency management, I promise you, it is one field where you have to continuously be creative. But I'm excited to see kind of the projects that can come out of it, as far as like what we can do to adapt. And if I've learned anything about Eugene, it is a community that adapts. It's pretty incredible what I've seen, especially post-COVID, because I was here before COVID, up just north of you in Benton County. And we were working off of a lot of the templates that the county here, Lane County, and the city of Eugene, all of the work that they were doing, because it was so incredible, even during COVID. So I do have faith that we are going to be able to come on the other side of this. Now, as far as what the hospital's plans are, I think it's totally fine if you reached out to their emergency manager. He's very approachable and very smart. I think he could provide a lot of help as far as like having to help the community understand the decision. But sometimes we're just throwing a curveball and we got to take it and make something out of it. So I'll be excited to see what kind of comes out of this exercise we're discussing. So it's exciting. I wanted to do a community evacuation exercise, but we're about a year and a half away from that. So hopefully June 2025. That's on my calendar as a goal.
Is Joanna still the EMS chief for Eugene?
Yeah, Chief Campy. Yeah, she's still EMS chief.
Okay. I've worked with them lots in the past, so I was just curious.
Yeah, very good team of people over there.
They are. They're right on top of it. They're good.
If you talk to her, please try to convince her not to retire for quite some time, because I really like having her around.
Well, we've been through several EMS chiefs and had several issues with that. I actually was on my way from Longview to Eugene on a train and met a gal that they brought down from Salem that had retired to put our EMS back together when they merged the EMS Springfield. And that's what she did, and they fought to keep EMS, or to keep the EMS in Eugene Springfield and to not privatize it. So I don't, is she talking about retiring?
I hear rumors that she's getting close, and she jokes about it, but it's a little rough considering our county emergency manager just left us. I'm like, I can't take two of you leaving at the same time, but she's a good spirit.
She'll be here for a while, I think.
Right. Well, thank you, Sierra. That was a great way to close out our meeting, with a firm reassessment that yes, Eugenians are resilient and our Springfield neighbors, and Yeah, we have a lot of good planning to do, and I know we'll all succeed. So thank you all so much for coming tonight. Why don't we get back an extra 5 minutes of our night and sign off unless anybody has anything else?
Sierra, you're a great politician.
I was just about to wish everybody happy holidays.
Yes,
I hope you all are
happy
safe.
holidays. They picked a good person for the position.
Yeah, we're
Oh.
so
Happy
thrilled.
holidays. I am off out of here on a plane.
Well, maybe I will see some of you, not this weekend, but next weekend.
I wish.
At the dilapidated building that is across from our second chamber. So take care, everybody.
We'll be there with sturdy shoes. Woohoo!
Please, closed-toed shoes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All
Bye.
right.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
time.
Thank you.
Night all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
WCC